we are discussing one particular discourse or sutra uttered by the Buddha, Parabhava Sutra. Parabhava means the cause of downfall. So the Buddha has seen so many weaknesses, mistakes, and advised people try to keep away from those practices, otherwise those practices become the cause of their downfall, physically, mentally, and financially, and bad reputations, downfall in every respect. I cannot remember which one, where we stopped last. I think today 18, number 18. You haven't got the book. This is in the Paritta chanting book, Parabhava Sutta. Here, Sehi Darehi Asantutto Vesya Sukha Dissati Dissati Paradarehi Tang Parabhavato Mukham. This is a weakness the Buddha has seen. A married man who cannot satisfy with his own wife always goes out with some other women. And this attitude definitely becomes the cause of his downfall. So when we use our common sense, we can understand this very clearly. Physically, mentally, financially, again, very bad reputation he creates. Then people do not respect. So, therefore, his advice is, a married person must stick to his or her own married partner and not to interfere with others. Otherwise, this can create a lot of problems and worries, and slowly started our deterioration, declining, going down. It seems simple, anyone can understand this. Then the next one, Atita Yobbano Poso Aneti Timbaruthani Tassa Issa Nasupati Tang Parabhavato Mukham. This is another advice. This is a very interesting one. Here you can understand how far the Buddha wanted to find out the loopholes, weaknesses, mistake committed by human being. He pointed out straight away, this attitude is wrong. If you behave like this, you are going to invite enormous troubles and worries and difficulties. That is the nature of his teaching. A vast difference between the Buddha's teaching and the teachings of other religious authorities. They use the language, you should not do this, you must do that. If you do this, I will punish you. If you do this, I will reward you. This is the language that all the other religions use. The Buddha never used this language. He has never uttered, you should not do this, or you must do that. He says, if you do this bad thing, you have to face the consequences, bad effect. Now, it is not a law, not a commandment. So the Buddha was not a lawgiver, advisor, teacher, master. then if you do this good deed, you can experience very good result. Therefore, you cannot say, oh, the Buddha says we cannot do this. This is the language used by other religions. They can say, oh, Jesus says like this, Muhammad says like this, therefore we cannot do. And the other day I have told you, when I went to give a talk in Catholic Church in Klang, somebody asked this question. Now you say, the Buddha says like this, and we say, God says like this. Now which one is correct? Then I told him, you can forget your God. You can forget the Buddha. Use your common sense. You can understand why it is wrong. If it is wrong, that is Buddhism. Because without commanding, the Buddha allows us to think. By thinking, we understand that it is wrong. It is not a law. We don't want to kill, we don't want to steal, because we know they are wrong. So then I mentioned, God says you should not steal. The Buddha also said it was not nice to steal. Do you think that we cannot understand that it is wrong without depending on God or without depending on the Buddha? We also can understand that it is wrong. When somebody comes and taken away our belonging, our property, how do we feel? That is enough for us to understand that it is wrong. And in another place, the Buddha says, if you cannot understand killing is bad, then you have to think in this way. When another person comes and tries to kill you, how do you feel? Either beating or cutting or shooting. When another person comes and tries to kill you, how do you feel at that time? You must understand, when you are going to do this to another person, and that person also experience the same thing that you experience. So, we don't want the message from heaven, or anyway, we have to understand this. This is the language used by the Buddha. And this one, very simple. If an old man married a young wife, that will become the cause of his downfall. See, the Buddha has gone up to such extent to point out the weaknesses in the society. Here it is a tassa issa nasupati. Because of jealousy, that old man doesn't sleep also. Whole day and night watching. Another man come and talk to her. Therefore, this will become real nuisance to this old man. Therefore, the Buddha's advice is, for your marriage, you have to find out your partner according to your age. Otherwise, you get into trouble. The whole life will be wasted. No peace, suspicion, and where is no harmony, no understanding. This is the Buddha's way of teaching. Then, itthing sonding vikarining purisangva pitadisang issariyasming tapapeti tang parabhavato mukha. This is another advice. Itthing meaning a stree, woman. Pali itti. Sanskrit a stree. Malay also same word, a stree. Sonding vikarining purisangva pitadisang issariyasming tapapeti tang parabhavato mukha. This is number 22. See how this one explained. He who places in authority and intemperate a spendthrift woman or a man of similar nature. This is the cause of one's downfall. That means the ruler or the authorities or responsible duties, if you are going to hand over to someone, whether that person is a woman or man, you must be very careful. Because that person can misuse, abuse, and use authorities in very unjustifiable way. Now take for instance, we appoint a very cruel, very wicked, very selfish man as a prime minister or as a ruler. Then he misused and abused and everybody had to suffer because of him. And the woman, purposely he separated this man and woman due to certain reason. Psychologically, modern psychologists observe the human mind, man and woman, whether there is any differences. Man's way of thinking and woman's way of thinking. Then they notice, I do not know how far it is true, but they said like this: man has 3 choices, but woman only 2 choices. What is that? Supposing one of your friends become your enemy, and from that day onward you are going on condemning, criticizing, accusing, blaming that person. At the same time, you also appreciate certain good thing that he has done or he is doing, although he is your enemy. But psychologist says woman has only 2 choices, good or bad. In between there is nothing. Forever bad. He cannot become good again. They say this is the mentality of a woman, but I don't know how far it is true. So, another reason, the woman's mentality maintain influence by emotion. They have more emotion than men. They are the only one who can cry and halfway stopping crying and laugh. Did you notice that? I have seen many occasions. Man cannot do that. If man cry today, the whole day he cannot laugh. This is the nature of man's mentality. Because it's very soft, very emotional. Very easily they can cry. Very easily they can laugh. But man is not like this. It is true. So, when you are going to appoint a woman in such a position, authority, you must be very careful. Because there are many women today who are very cleverer, more intelligent than men. In the Buddha's teaching it is mentioned, when King Pasenadi Kosala was talking to the Buddha, somebody came and whispered something to the king. Then his face became very sour. The Buddha was watching. Then he asked, why? What happened to you? Then he said, I had a very sad news. What is that? Do you know, my queen was expecting a baby. I thought he is a baby boy. Just now I heard he is a baby girl. That's why I am very unhappy. Then the Buddha said, do you know, sometimes woman is wiser than the man. He used this word. Don't think man is the only wise one. Women are not wise. Then again he says, a ruler of a country nurtures, produce, look after, given to the world by a woman. So why do you want to condemn women? Why do you want to think they are unfortunate? Then he consoled the king. There is no another religious teacher in this world who has ever uttered such word by giving a due place to women. Then even Napoleon Bonaparte, he lived 18th century. He said, if you want to teach anything to a woman, don't teach anything for them to think, because they don't know how to think. See the impression they had, even in the 18th century. But give them something to believe, then they accept. Just they believe, but they don't know how to think. But 2,500 years ago, the Buddha has said, man should not think, he is the only wise person. Woman also wise. Therefore, certain thing you have to discuss with your wife. Get her advice also. The impression that they had few hundred years ago, whenever you have a problem, go and discuss with your wife. You do not know whether to do or not to do. Cannot decide. Then go and discuss with your wife, and then wife say, never mind, you can do that. Then don't do that, you will succeed. If wife say not to do that, then you go and do the opposite. This was the idea people had at that time. The Buddha has broken all these traditional beliefs and given here very unbiasedly. The Buddha pointed out, whether man or woman, if that person is not suitable to hold that position, that condition, situation, authority, don't choose, don't hand over. You will get into trouble. Next one. Appabhogo mahatanho khattiye jayate kule. Socha rajjang patthayati tang parabhavato mukha. A very rich person and greedy, mahatanha, who is greedy, who was born in a high-class family, say royal family, but he is not intelligent. He got a lot of wealth and property, he craved for his property, and he was born in a royal family. If that person is not intelligent, cannot think properly, cannot understand things properly, that person, he himself fall down because of that attitude. He should not think, I must take the position in the society to rule the country or control the public. That will become the cause of his downfall. No doubt he has wealth, was born in royal family, but not intelligence. This is the way how Buddha has pointed out our weaknesses in the society. Then, after gaining enlightenment, struggling for 6 years, he wanted to tell others what he understood. Now he got a special, some sort of extraordinary characteristic in his mind, in his knowledge, in his wisdom. In Dhammacakka Sutra, it is mentioned, Chakkhung udapadi, Jnanang udapadi, Panya udapadi, Vijja udapadi, aloko udapadi. 5 things. Now in my mind, brightness arose. Through this brightness, I can see everything here in this world not as they appear, but as they are. That means he can penetrate his mind to understand anything in this world. Earlier he said, I never had that. So, that is called chakku. Chakku means eyes. We use the word divine eyes. He got divine eyes to see everything that exists. That is brightness and wisdom. Chakkung udapadi. Jnanang udapadi. Jnana means knowledge. Now I have an extraordinary knowledge to understand everything, how they exist, why they change, why they decay, why they disappear. After that, what will happen? Earlier, I never knew all these things. So this knowledge I got through my meditation, and now with the brightness in my mind, I can use this knowledge to understand anything that which exists. Take for a simple example, the Buddha is called Lokavidu, knower of the world. Loka means world. When you compare his worldly knowledge, not worldly knowledge, knowledge about the world, with all the other religious teachers. You know, in many other religions, this earth was flat at that time. Those who have discovered this is not flat, but this is round, religious authorities want to punish them. This is against religion. Again, this earth never shake, never move, remain as a very solid item without changing, without moving. It is in their religion. Astronomers found out it is not the sun that goes round the earth. Still we use the word rising sun. Sun never rise, remain there. But this one move, go round and round. But the Buddha says, I have realized all these planets, world system, universes, how they come into existence. Then he says, he divided the whole universe into 3 groups. Sattaloka, Sankharaloka, Akasaloka. Sattaloka, world systems where there are living beings. There may be millions of other world systems in the whole universe. He realized living beings exist in many other world systems. Then another thing, Sankhara Loka, world system that exists maintaining only elements, but no living being. So moon, sun, and all the other planets, they notice no living being. Especially in the sun, 10,000 degrees temperature in the sun. So, but elements are there. Buddha says all these world systems maintain only elements, no living being. And again another world system, only of space. No element, no living being, only a space. So he divided whole universe into 3 groups. Again, he says, all these existing things face natural universal law. Anicca, dukkha, anatta. 3 characteristics. Whether it is world, or the sun, or the moon, or any other existing object. All these existing things subjected to change. There is nothing to exist without changing. Existence takes place because of changes. But we cannot see it. Now, electricity, all sort of gadgets, you can see the light running, jumping, playing, all these tricks cheat our eyes. But all these are changes. Otherwise we cannot see them in that way. So, anicca means change. This world is changing. Now we are going to celebrate millennium or completions of 1,000 years. I cannot understand what is there a special characteristic to celebrate. This world or the sun and the moon do not know anything that Jesus was born 2,000 years ago. It is only human mind. So we created this as a very big day, or thinking the world also changed. How many millions and billions of years this world completed 1,000 times. Again in future also, how many times again complete 1,000? This is our calculation. World doesn't know all these things. There is nothing special for us. It is natural. Just our calculation, 1,000 years. Before we have not learned to calculate, we don't know anything. What is happening? So, everything is changeable. Then everything face dukkha. Dukkha means unsatisfactoriness. It is not suffering. Suffering means physical pain. That is not the most important thing. Unsatisfactoriness, every minute we experience some sort of unsatisfactoriness. Without facing this unsatisfactoriness, there is no life. Only dead body. Living beings cannot exist without facing unsatisfactoriness. We must understand this. Not to grumble, not to complain, not to create troubles and problems because of this. Then, friction and clash. Everything exists because of the friction. Now here in this body, 4 elements. Mental energy. Friction always takes place. Imbalance, friction, changes, then we have to suffer. Element, 4 elements, imbalance, turn into sicknesses. Now when you are sick, you go to a sensei. He examines your pulse. Then he says, oh, you have a lot of fung or fang, I don't know what it is. Fung or fang? Wind. Examine your pulse and he says, in your body, you have a lot of fung. That is the sickness. It is not a sickness. That is imbalance. The wind in our physical body cannot balance with the other element. Then the wind is going on jumping. If not, they say, oh, you have more heat in your body. Why? The heat cannot compromise with the other element. Then temperature increases. It is not a sickness. Because of the friction, clashes, imbalance of the element in our body. Again, every thought we create in our mind affects the physical body. Especially shock, fear, and tension, suspicion. All these mental attitudes affect the organs of our body. That is why called friction. Then turn into sicknesses later. And we are growing, decaying. In the end, dissolve. All these things take place not due to any external influence. This is the nature of our physical body and maintained by the mental energy. The elements that we had when we were born as small babies are going on changing, we call growing. It is changing. Growing up to certain levels, about 30, 40. After that, stop growing. Then remain middle age. After middle age, turn this way. Then going down. That is called decay. Is there anybody in this world who can stop it? Then what is the reason? All these elements cannot agree with each other. Mental energy cannot control the physical body. Physical body cannot control the mind. Everything is haywire. Then this one going on decaying. This is the house. This house is built by using those four elements and energies. After that, what will happen? When this one is decayed, out of order, collapse, then the life and the mental energy proceed, go away. That is called death. Life never dies. There is nothing to die in our life. It is an energy, like wind. We cannot destroy wind. So, life departs because this house is out of order, decay, collapse. Then start to build another new house. That is called rebirth. Nobody else to come and do that. So, all these problems now you can understand, not due to ghosts or devils or God, anybody. Universal nature, universal law. Every existing things function according to the universal law. By praying and worshipping, we can stop all these things. Then anatta. Many people believe in the end there will be something to remain as permanent entity. Others introduce this as soul in heaven, remain as permanent entity. final goal. Everybody accepted this. The Buddha says, when we analyze, there is nothing to remain in the end. If there is anything to remain, the thing that exists also again start changing. Otherwise, no existence. A man who strongly believes this, that we have an eternal soul, he came to challenge, debate with the Buddha. Then the Buddha asked, can you tell me where this soul is? He could not tell where it is located. Then the Buddha said, we have 4 mental faculties: feeling, perception, mental concomitant, consciousness. Do you think soul is in one of these 4 mental faculties? He said, no. We have 4 elements: solidity, fluidity, heat, motion. Do you think soul is in one of these elements? He said, no. We have 5 senses. Do you think soul is in one of these 5 senses? He says, no. Then the Buddha, then where it is? No answer. It is only misinterpretation of consciousness. I have explained the nature of consciousness from the Buddhist point of view. But we cannot take this as permanent consciousness that will exist or remain in nirvana. There was a monk who had this belief. He said, after our death, our consciousness go to nirvana and remain. Just like others say, our soul go to heaven and remain permanently. Then the Buddha said, you are wrong. To that monk, there is nothing to remain as permanent entity. Why? If there is anything to exist, that thing which exists cannot function without changing. This is the way how he analyzed the whole universe. This kind of interpretations we cannot find in any other religion. They are entirely different. Now, why scientists, great thinkers, psychologists agree with the Buddha's teaching? Because of this. There is nothing to contradict in the Buddha's teaching with their scientific discoveries. As mentioned, Albert Einstein, according to our scientific education, in time to come, if religion is needed, only Buddhism can stand. All the others disappear, according to scientific discoveries. Everything what they have discovered, other religions were against. Let us take, when medical science discovered to inject or to give some drug to stop pain, they say, no, it is against the will of God. Especially labor pain for women. The doctors say we can stop that pain by using some injections or drug. But they say, no, it is against the God. God purposely created this pain for them to suffer as a punishment. Is there anybody who accepts this teaching? Start from the beginning up to this date. When Buddhism says, after our death, either burial or cremation, whatever we like, according to our convenience, we can do that. But others say, no, you cannot cremate. It is against our religion. You must bury. Those who objected to this cremation had to withdraw. In 1950, they announced, yes, those who like to cremate, they can do so. Because they realize in certain islands, not enough land to bury. Now they had to withdraw that. They say it is against their religion. Buddhism never interfered with this kind of thing. Charles Darwin, when he discovered theory of evolution, changing, evolving. We are standing as humans today because of these changes. I still continue this. But all the existing religions say, no, it is against. God created. The Buddha, just now I mentioned, he said everything is changing. That is called theory of evolution. Evolving. So scientists like the teachings of the Buddha. And Bertrand Russell, great thinker who had no religion, he has said, among the founders of all these religions, I respect only one man. He is the Buddha. Why do I respect him? All the others have made false statements. At the beginning of the world, origin of the world, created by so and so at such and such time. It shows how poor their understanding capacity about the world. But the Buddha, he never said that this world was created by someone at such and such time. Why? He knew what this world is. Therefore I respect him. H.G. Wells, a well-known world historian, in his book, Manual of World History, he says, our holy book says, God created this world about 4,000 years ago. But when you study geology, we can understand it has taken millions of years for this earth to cool down and settle down. So, today, anthropologist says, living being existed on this earth even 2-3 millions of years ago. No one can deny. They know how to do the experiment. Here you can see all those religious people, what they have said. Scientists have ousted all those things. The Buddha has explained all these things because of his enlightenment. That is why I told you just now. First he got the vision to see things properly. Then he got the knowledge to understand everything, why they exist. Chakkhum udapadi, jnanam udapadi. Vidya udapadi. Vidya means analytical knowledge. Now science is called Vidya. Scientists never accept anything without doing experiment. So the Buddha also used that analytical knowledge to understand things, analyzing. Others haven't got that. Then, Panya Udapadi. Panya means wisdom. Supreme wisdom. Now, in my mind, I have that supreme wisdom. What is that? In our case, we do not know whether possible or impossible. We struggle. But certain things, Buddha say impossible. Certain things, he say possible. Because of that analytical knowledge. Then, Aloko Udapadi. Aloka means brightness. Brightness arose in my mind. Formerly, my mind was in the dark. That is why I could not see things properly, I could not understand things properly, I could not analyze and explain properly. Now I have brightness to focus, to see anything, to understand anything, and how to explain to others. These are the 5 things he mentioned in first sermon, Dhammacakka Sutta. Chakkung Udapadi, Jnanang Udapadi, Panya Udapadi, Vijja Udapadi, Aloko Udapadi. And now you can understand the nature of the Buddha's supreme wisdom. The Buddha never studied anything to explain like this by studying. When he removed all the darkness, dark cloud from the mind, when he removes mental defilement from the mind, then the brightness. Through this brightness, you can see everything in realistic way, without misinterpreting, without creating imagination, without holding misconception. This is the Buddha. So, today, some people think it is very difficult to understand Buddhism, but easy to understand other religions. It is true. Now, small children learn everything when they are very young, but purposely nobody taught them. All the bad things they learn very easily. Not necessary to teach purposely, but very difficult to teach good things to them. Therefore what they say is right. Easy to understand other religion. But when scientists and great thinkers and psychologists study and compare the teachings of the Buddha with all the other religion and philosophy and science. Recently, a well-known psychologist has said, we think our psychological knowledge is very deep. But when you compare our scientific or psychological knowledge with the psychology that existed 2,500 years ago in India, in fact, still we are in infancy stage. Psychologists say like that. Because there is no another religion, another philosophy, another psychology where you can find interpretation about the human mind. Only in the teachings of the Buddha. Others do not talk anything about the mind. They talk about God, heaven, reward, punishment, hell. That's all. The Buddha, through his enlightenment, he analyzed the nature of the mind. A group of people came to ask question. Then the first person started to ask. Then the Buddha surveyed his mind. He knew that this person cannot understand. Then the Buddha said, you better wait. Then the next person asked the question. He knew that he can understand. So he gave the answer. Then again that fellow, I asked you to wait. Then again the third person asked the question. He knew he can understand, answered to all the others. And then he said, now this is your time now. Now what is your question? Now I have no question. You know what the Buddha did? He allowed him to listen how I answered all the others. He said, now I have no question. Here more than enough for you to understand the nature of the Buddha's enlightenment. Very bad cough. I have finished 3 cough mixture bottles. Last Friday, Tuesday, I gave 1 bottle. That one also finished. There's still a lot of phlegm, but yesterday I went and bought some antibiotic. Otherwise cannot. Because Saturday I had to go to Singapore. Give a public talk. So how can you go like this? Lot of phlegm. When I was about to come just now, people in the temple scolded me. When you are sick also, you want to go out. I said, never mind. Still I can talk. I think better to stop today. My cough. Have some blessing. Oh, we have forgotten to recite this one. Sharing of merit. Right. Imina punya kammena upajjaya gunuttara acari upakaraca mata pita piya mamang Suriyo Chandi Maharaja Gunavanta Narapice Brahma Maharaja Indace Lokapalaca Devata Yamo Mita Manusace Yatta Virika Pice Sabbe Satta Sukhi Hontu Punyani Pakatani Me Sukhanca Tividam Dentu Kipang Papeta Omatam Imina punya kammena imina uddite kippaham sulabhe ceva tannupadana cedanam ye santanehina dhamma Yava Nibbana Nasantu Sabbadayeva Yatta Jato Bhave Bhave Ujjo Citto Sattipanyo Salleko Viriyavamina Mara labhantu no kasam tunce viriye sume buddhadi pavaronato Dhammo nato anuttamo nato pacceka sambuddho Sangho nato taro mama Tesottamanu bhavena Marokasam labhantuma Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata Sabba buddhanubhavena sada satyavantute Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata Sabba dhammanubhavena sada satyavantute Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata Sabba sanghanubhavena sada satyavantute. So good health and peace of life to all of you.